Today, as part of our Adapt to Thrive web event, MedPB is delighted to have Michelle Ullman, founder and CEO of Clear Digital Media and Citadel Holdings. As patients begin to tentatively return to practices in person, Clear Digital Media offers a contact-free way to engage patients, remind them of safety protocols, and even entertain them. Michelle is here today to talk about unique ways to connect with patients and transform one-time visitors into loyal patients.
Hi, this is Charlie Cook, CEO of MedPB, speaking with Michelle Ullman. Michelle, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Charlie. I'm very pleased to be here in my little office in Austin, Texas.
So I understand you've got a nice spread there. Is that what you call it out there, or a nice ranch, or you're out in the country outside of Austin?
We are actually in hill country of Austin, Texas. So what's very cool is that we got a great piece of property. There's breweries and distilleries up and down the street. So easy access to fun here. And we've got a little piece of property we converted. We have a warehouse. We have our office that we took a house and converted it. I can look out the window, I see deer. There's actually deer by a feeder, so it's very cool. We're close enough to a very cool city and far enough away to, enjoy the open land.
That sounds nice. So you've been in the audiology industry for a few years, to say the least. Can you give us the backstory of how you got started and where you are now with your business?
Absolutely. I will say that I legitimately was born into this industry. So we've been in hearing care for close to 40 years, which is hard to believe, although by the wrinkles in my face, you can tell that that's not surprising. My folks actually started our original business. We were in distribution of ALDs. We were one of the first assisted listening device catalogs in the industry. And we've done that for many years. In fact, we still do that. That's why we have a warehouse, High Tech Group. And then we started manufacturing our own line of ALDs. Clear Sounds Communications is the brand. Still in the market, many audiologists still use our products. We specialize in Bluetooth streaming and different accessories, everything but the hearing aid. And we do a lot of work with various state programs and distribution programs. So we've been doing that for a very long time. We actually had a clinic in Chicago for a bit, and my dad actually still runs a nonprofit clinic in the city of Chicago, and he helps people that cannot afford hearing aids. So he's doing some really good work still in hearing care. And then we segued into Clear Digital Media, really focusing on patient engagement, helping clinics engage patients, create a better patient experience, convert more patients from visitors to lifetime customers. And that came probably about 10 years ago. We've been doing that now.
So one of your hidden assets is that you probably know your target audience better than most people possibly could, given that you and your family have been in the business for decades and decades.
That is very true. So we not only understand our target market, which is the audiologist and the hearing care professional, but we understand their patient. So the interesting thing about what we've done is that we started really with the patient. So we've been working closely with their patients for, like I said, close to 40 years. And all of that work, so all of that insight has really helped us be better partners to audiologists and hearing care professionals. So our interaction with patients gave us that front row view to the experience they were having. We were like, I kind of call it like we were the best friends, that the patients would talk to. So they shared with us all of their experiences. They shared with us the good, the bad, the ugly, and the work that, their experience with an audiologist or a hearing care professional. So that's given us remarkable insight. It's given us great platform to provide for our partners in Clear Digital Media, in that with that insight, we can be better producers of content that really resonates with the patient that's walked into the practice.
And my experience is that in marketing, content is everything. So having those insights probably gives you a big advantage in being able to produce content that's of interest to the audiologist's patients.
100%. So we're hearing firsthand, and we still have that relationship. So we know some of the questions that they asked. We know some of the questions they didn't ask and needed to ask. We know some of the concerns they have. We know some of the fears that they have. We know some of the things that they're looking to accomplish when they go into a hearing care practice. We know what their families think. We know what their spouses think. And so it's really interesting because we can take all of that collective insight and all of that great, there's a lot of psychology in that. And we can put in place content that speaks directly to that patient and all of the different things that they're thinking about without the hearing care professional really needing to, I guess, dig in and try to understand it, if that makes sense. So the reason that matters is sometimes, when you go to your doctor or professional, you might filter what you have to say because we all worry a little bit about what people think. There's so much psychology to all of this. And so because we've gotten an unfiltered perspective and feedback and insight from patients, that really helps us build content that resonates. And that's what it's all about. I mean, what Clear Digital Media does is we have a platform, we have a white glove turnkey service that is delivering that content at point of care, in the waiting room, in the exam room. We now have features that can do pre-care, post-care. And so we have that platform, but not just that. We have the content and we have the insight. So you bundle that all together, it's a really effective tool.
So obviously we can't right here now and sort of look at a typical office, but maybe you can walk us through what's included in the service for typical practice, what equipment they get and then what type of programming they get and what, if any, customization they get.
So when you sign up for CDM, you're going to get a media player. That media player is going to either be a Roku device or a Windows media player. So that's all bundled into the package. We do all the work, we set it up, so it's plug and play. When you get it in your office, you literally plug it in. We're here for support if you need it, but it's super simple. Plug it into your television screen or a PC monitor. That will work also. You need an internet connection, so that's what's required. Internet connection and a screen. You get the player, you plug it in, you turn it on, and it plays content. Now, what comes with that is we have close to 2,000 pieces of content we've created. We have a creative team that has done motion graphics, animation, a variety of different types of styles and topics around hearing care. And again, based on all of that insight, not only from the patients, but from the professionals themselves. And then we also provide 12 pieces of custom content for every clinic, every location. So if you sign up, we work with you, you can get you started right away. You can plug and play and be playing content in the waiting room immediately. And then we will work with you to develop those 12 pieces. It can be anything from patient testimonials, it can be reviews, it can be bios and different insights on special services that clinic offers. An example would be, we work with one clinic here in Austin, they really specialize in tinnitus therapy, or tinnitus, however you want to pronounce it. And so we showcase that unique service that is offered. And oftentimes patients may not realize that there's something that they need to think about as a result of watching a piece of that content. And it's something that maybe the PCC or even the professional has not thought about in the moment of conversation they're having. So it really stimulates great conversation. So we also include support. We're available. We have 24/7 email support. We have webpage knowledge base and support platform. And then our great client service support staff is here and available to take all calls.
So if I'm a patient and I'm showing up for my appointment, and hopefully I don't have to wait too long, but there's 5, 10, 15 minutes or whatever in the waiting room, you've probably calculated the average length of stay there. What are the exact types of content that I might see related to, let's say, safety, or that are educational or promotional?
You're going to see a combination of things, everything from the clinic custom content, which we like to saturate. You're going to see short format and long format. So we have everything from 15-second to 2-minute videos, and we will sprinkle those into playlists. We know on average someone's going to wait probably between 8 and 10 minutes. And in some cases, what we found is if you have a practitioner who is the sole provider of care, so it might be a one audiologist office. If they're spending a little more time with the patient and someone's waiting an extra minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, they're going to see statistics, they're going to see comorbidities, they're going to see safety. We've included a collection of COVID content that really speaks to how is this clinic protecting their patients through this pandemic. You're going to see information on how it impacts family members. You're going to see information that helps identify the positive outcomes of treating hearing loss. And then importantly too, you're going to see pieces on technology. What manufacturers does that hearing care provider fit with? That content we also have. You're going to see different pieces on specialties, like I said, tinnitus therapy and other specialties, ENT content we have as well. And then we also include what we call edutainment, which is fun tips, little things like celebrities with hearing loss, information on the animal kingdom and how actually hearing loss impacts mammals. We have some fun other content that sprinkles it in that keeps it fresh. Then we also manage those playlists. So we'll have seasonal content through holidays or different times of year. World Hearing Day, we have content for that. And we keep that fresh. So we're constantly looking at our content, updating it, reversioning it. And the playlists work in such a way where the content will never play simultaneously. So you'll never see one piece play over and over and over. It literally cycles through and shuffles through all that content, like I said, close to 2,000 pieces. So it's constantly fresh. The cool thing is that we can organize and strategize with the clinic around how they want that content to flow. They want to saturate around new technology launch. They want to saturate around a new provider that's joined the practice, and they want that piece to play more often. We can schedule it. In addition, we can schedule content to play at specific times of day. So if you block schedule and you're a professional that says, okay, I'm going to have all of my new patients come in at 10 o'clock and at 2 o'clock. Those are my new patient appointments. We can actually schedule content that speaks to a new patient with content more directed at that type of appointment at those times. So there's some cool flexibilities in that.
That sounds awesome. So are there certain types of clinics that you would say, it's ideally suited for, or is it just, you would say everybody should be using this in their waiting room?
I would say that if you have a screen, if you have a waiting room, number one, you should be using it. When you break down the return on investment of something like this, it costs less than one additional set of hearing aids. You sell one additional set of hearing aids a year and you pay for the system. So the ROI in it is remarkable. Every practice should have it. If you have a waiting room and anyone spends a second of time in that waiting room, not only the moment they walk in the door, I always say that the waiting room is the window to the soul of the practice. When you walk in the door as a patient, you're very well aware of your surroundings. I mean, we make conscious and unconscious observation. So when you walk in and you see, whether it be nothing on the screen, on a wall, you see a screen with nothing on it. If you see a screen with daytime television, which would be disastrous, I can't even stress how bad of an idea that is. That waiting room is there for your patients. That's the intent of that space. So leverage it. If all you have is magazines and some flyers and some brochures, you're doing a disservice not only to the patient, but to yourself. If you could showcase a little bit of your background or one piece of technology that inspires one additional question, or that you've added one piece of knowledge to the individual that's walked in that is going to be your patient, you've made a difference. So it is, for the return on investment, is an incredibly smart thing to do. You're raising the perception of professionalism when you walk in. I definitely recommend it for everybody.
Now, you just said you didn't want to talk about this, but why would it be a bad idea to just have the TV turned on to the, local news channel?
Well, I think number one, we're hyper exposed to all the negativity. There's nothing you're going to see on TV today that's really going to be positive or that's going to keep your patient focused on their journey. They didn't walk into your waiting room to watch television or the news or to hear some piece of negative information that's going to make them depressed or scared. What they walked into your practice for hearing care. So when they walk into your practice, they're surrounded and immersed in information that keeps them really focused on that journey. We want to align our brains with making the decisions we've made. If we're already hesitant, so you've already invested in somebody coming in the door, they're a little bit hesitant, not a surprise, and now you've greeted them with reassurance and certainty because you've upped your professionalism, you've educated them in that moment. You've said to them, I care enough about you to communicate to you the value of your being here, and I value you. And this aligns with, this is a good decision for you to make. If you have daytime TV playing, the other risk you run is there's commercials, and I've seen a ton of them, and those commercials are competition. And oftentimes you don't want that exposure. Why would you do that? Why would you plant the seed of thought along anything other than you're here because this is the right decision to make and we're going to have a great outcome? It just doesn't make sense.
So in terms of the benefits, you sort of mentioned a couple of different things, and I just want to see if we can look at the psychological level and also look at it sort of the goal level. So one of the things you've mentioned is that people who come into a medical practice, whether it's an audiology office or an ENT office or whatever, they're not running in with a spirit of glee. They're coming in, worried about what's going to happen and what someone might say or might find, and there's a certain level of hesitancy. So the goal, which you mentioned, is that the goal is to take the hesitant patient and turn them into a confident patient who also has some intelligent questions to ask that's going to guide him through the process of making the right decision. Did I sum that up correctly?
100%. Yeah, you're creating certainty. So we operate as human beings in certainty. Certainty is one of our driving forces. It's how we make decisions. And when you present information that wraps that patient and that prospect in certainty, then they're one step ahead. And so it's such a small investment for that massive step forward for so many patients. It's just such a smart thing to do. One of the other unintended positive consequences of the system is staff. So when you have front office staff that's sitting, because of the way we manage and strategize around our playlists, they're never seeing repetitive video. So they're not there ready to stab their eyeballs out with a pen because they've seen the same thing 100 times. They're learning. And we've had a number of clinics say, hey, this has been a great tool for my staff, because I have young folks sitting at the front to align our brains with making the decisions that I haven't had time to actually teach them. It serves great purposes in many different ways, but I think, yeah, you summed it up really well. It really wraps a patient in certainty and security that they're making sound decisions, inspiring positive thought, and keeping them focused on that journey, which the outcome that we're looking for is with reassurance and coming back as a lifetime patient.
So I had this as one of my questions, but I think you already answered it, which is, why is this a good idea now, if not even a better idea now? But obviously, with the level of uncertainty out there, if the focus of the videos that you're showing or the content you're showing is to help create a certainty, you've sort of answered the question. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would agree. And I know that a lot of clinics now, a lot of owners are nervous themselves. You know, what's happening? Revenue's been impacted. I will say this. I've talked to a number of clinic owners who have nailed their June goals, like even surpassed their June goals. Record number of hearing aid fittings. Why is that? Because we are now living in a world where every single day, an individual with hearing loss that has not either accepted it or has not taken the next step is forced to realize that they have hearing loss because he can't read lips. And I know this, my dad is profoundly hard of hearing. He wears binaural hearing aids. He lost his hearing in the military. He reads lips. He wears hearing aids. But prior to getting fit, he read lips. He didn't realize it. When that's taken away and you have no other option, the realization that you're having difficulty becomes glaring. In addition, the muffled sounds has made it even more obvious. So now there's this pent-up demand. And so I think what's really important for professionals to think about is, I know we're all sensitive to what we're spending money on, and you should be, absolutely. But be smart about leveraging tools available to you that are priced in a way where the ROI can be realized in the short term, and that you leverage what's happening by presenting your patients with content that makes them feel certain things are going to be okay. That really is what ends up happening at the end of the day. Hopefully that makes sense.
So how many practices are you currently in? I know it's a fairly big number.
We're in close to 1,000 right now.
1,000. So you've obviously got a lot of experience with working with people who obviously didn't have, the content streaming into their offices and now do. What's their experience in terms of, what they see patients doing differently, once they've introduced your system?
I think one of the key things is questions. So a lot of clinics give feedback that patients are asking questions that lead to better outcomes, and that's really the key. Also, I think it's a sense of relaxation, that they're sensing that patients feel better as they move into their appointments. I would say that's probably fundamentally one of the best outcomes, is that we have conversion happening because a patient has engaged with a piece of information that either made them more confident in their decision to be there, or led them to a question that resulted in the outcome of being fit or upgrading or moving to something, a piece of technology that made a difference. So that's I'd say the number one outcome that we're seeing. And then second to that would be when family members have it, and I know that's changed with COVID, but when family members were in the waiting room with the patient, oftentimes we were hearing that family members were then actually getting hearing tests because it led them to think about their own situation. And then staff, the positive feedback from staff feeling informed, enjoying the content, feeling entertained by the content. Those are the key things that we're hearing back.
So here's an idea. I don't mean to throw product ideas at you, but I was just thinking about the family members, because we know, for people who go in to think about hearing aids, it's great if the family member can attend. And if they can't now due to the COVID restrictions, have you had any thoughts about being able to just stream that content to their phone if they're waiting in the car or something, so the family member can see what the patient is seeing?
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the features we just built into the platform is what we call CDM-TV Go. So that's a virtual media player. So now when you subscribe, you actually get access to a virtual media player. It's very simple. It's a link that can be embedded in an email. It can be embedded in a website. So it can be sent to a patient while they wait in the parking lot, which often happens. In fact, we're seeing now for some states where they really can't have patients in the waiting room, they queue them up in the parking lot. They can receive, whether it be an email or just be on the website, on a mobile device or a tablet. They can access the virtual media player and see all of the content. In fact, we can work with the clinic, which is really cool, to construct that virtual media player in a way that addresses that environment. So for example, we can set up different clinics, say, hey, this has been a great Netflix. So when they see it, they could choose pre-appointment content, or they could choose post-appointment content, or they could choose entertainment content. So there's ways for us to work with the clinics, and that's part of the benefit of the services we offer, is that we offer that kind of strategizing with the clinics. So what's going to be the best application to leverage the tool in the best way possible?
So is there any way to attach the audiologist recommendation onto that content so that the spouse or
so it's
those together?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
It just reminds me of, I had a father-in-law who every time he went in to see the doctor, when he had a horrible cold, he'd go in to see the doctor and he'd say, oh, I feel fine. And we could never figure out why he was never getting, a prescription. And I can see the same thing happening with people going in to see audiologists. So bridging that communication gap between the audiologist and the spouse is also an important link that it sounds like you can help with.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. Spouses are often the biggest influencers in this relationship, so incorporating them into it is important.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Well, there are a bunch of things I learned about what you do that I had no idea, and new features that you're adding on, and it clearly sounds like you've moved a long way from the business that you started with and maybe that your father had into much more of a digital focus. Is there any question I should have asked but didn't?
I would say maybe what's the ideal client? And although we address that it's really for everybody, what we're seeing and the insights that we've learned is that the ideal CDM client is one that really does understand the value of utilizing the tools available. So it's kind of like being a really good gym member. You can sign up and subscribe, get a membership to a gym with all the best intentions, and that gym provides you all the tools you need to get fit, but you need to pick them up. You need to use them. So I'd say the question is, who's the ideal client? It's the client that has deeply understands and believes in the importance of that engagement, that believes in the importance of creating the certainty and believes in that. It's not a panacea. It's an incredibly powerful tool that when utilized can make a difference and can really convert that ROI. So that would be it.
Well, and I think actually Kevin used to say this, my partner, that an educated patient is the best kind of patient, actually.
Clinic owners who have nailed it. I think an educated patient is an empowered patient. An empowered patient is a positive patient. And a positive patient is one that usually takes action. And action is getting fit, taking steps to resolve their hearing loss. And so I think that those professionals that respect that process, and it's not to say that everyone doesn't, but there is a reality to leveraging all these tools available to you and really respecting that moment, respecting the first step they take into your office. This is where our system makes such a big difference.
This has been great. And as I said, I've learned a lot. If people have questions for you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
They can hit the website, email me, or give us a call. And I would say hit our website at cleardigitalmedia.net. Lots of great information there. And they can email me at Michelle with one L, MICHELE.Allman, which is AHLMAN @cleardigitalmedia.net.
We'll make sure to add those links below this recording, so if people watch this, they can find those right away. But thank you again for joining the call today.
Thanks so much, and for tolerating my COVID here. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share.